Could you speak about your life growing up?
I'd be glad to. I was born into a bourgeois family on May 20th of 1799 on Saint Honore's Day in Tours, France. My mother, Anne Charlotte Balzac, and my father, Bernard Francois, had 4 boys, and I'm the oldest. She saw my birth more as a duty or a chore, so I was taken into care and educated by a nurse until I was about 4 years old.
What schooling did you have?
During most of my childhood, from around 1806 to 1813, I was away from home in a grammar school called Collège de Vendôme in Tours. When I was about 17, I moved to Paris to study law at Sorbonne. After that, I got back to writing. I was always an enthusiastic reader and independent thinker as a child, but I had trouble adapting myself to the teaching style of my grammar school. This caused quite a bit of trouble throughout my life, and I think that's what's caused me my failure in the business world. However, I believe I was the first French novelist to use fiction to convey the social scene prevailing at a particular period in history. Some people even say I was the founder of realism in European literature.
Before becoming a writer, what did you do?
First I tried a career in the field of business, but it was a failure and I found it very inhumane, with a boring routine. I then had my own publishing company, and I bought a printing house, but it wasn't too successful because we had never had anything to print. I think this was a point in time when I started having financial problems. I've said this before, but I have many periods of wretchedness, but with energy and above all with illusions, I pulled through them all.
Can you describe your social life?
My relationship with my family was strained by financial and personal drama. I lost more than one friend over critical reviews. However, I did enjoy my life. I had many affairs in my life, including one with Honore de Balzac, who became both a big inspiration and my lover.
Was there anybody specific that inspired your stories?
Oh, of course! Just to name a few, there were 2 older women who really inspired me, Madame de Balzac and the Marquise de Castries. These 2 women, I believe, led me to writing novels with great narrative drive. Large casts of very diverse and complex characters, and my interest in examining all spheres of life.
Did your family support your choice of becoming a writer?
No, they didn't. In 1819, I abandoned law to pursue a career in literature, rebelling against my parents. My sister had prepared some legal speeches expressing that I had realized the beauty of the French language. I refused to enter the law profession and believed that my simplest road to success was writing, and turns out I was correct. Despite disappointing my father, he still provided me with a small allowance 2 years after I moved out. The deal was that I was to be financially independent by that point.
Before La Comédie Humaine became so successful, were you writing other novels?
Yes, before La Comédie Humaine, I wrote many successful plays and novels that made a large income. I've wrote many famous pieces to date, including the 1829 Les Chouans, which is a historical political novel, the 1831 Le Chef d'œuvre inconnu, a philosophical novel, the 1831 La Peau de Chagrin, which is a fantasy novel with philosophical undertones, and a poetic novel named Le Lit dans la Vallée, which was published in 1836. Yet, I'm still constantly in debt.
Comédie Humaine was one of your most famous works. Where did this idea originate?
La Comédie Humaine was really my breakthrough as an author. This is a series I wrote with some 90 novels and short stories. I've subdivided it into smaller groups of novels called Scenes of Private Life, Scenes of Political Life, Scenes of Parisian, Provincial, and Country Life. There was a separate group of philosophical studies. La Comédie Humaine is about the comparison of theories between the animal kingdom and human society. Through this, the reader sees the human life and customs are more diverse than that of the animals. In contrast to animals, humans experience dramatic love conflicts. I think it was really so successful because it reflects my real-life difficulties and includes scenes from my own experience. The idea for it originated from Dante's The Divine Comedy, which is an epic narrative poem.
What's the secret to writing a successful novel or play?
The key is hard work and determination. I write all day, every day, for about 14 to 16 hours. During this, I drink lots and lots of specially blended Parisian coffee. Some people actually argue that my death was caused by all the coffee I drank. After supper, I sleep a bit, then wake up and at midnight and write again until morning.
Many of your works have been made into films. Has your writing influenced any other people?
Yes, just to name a few authors, there was Marcel Proust, Émile Zola, Charles Dickens, Gustave Flaubert, Henry James, and Jacques Kerouac. I've also influenced important philosophers such as Friedrich Engels.
How did you die?
The cause was unknown, I'm pretty sure, but during the last few years of my life, I had poor health, having suffered successive heart attacks, and my morale was weakened by the disappointment of my one great love affair. In 1832, I had received my first love letter from Madame Hanska. I continued corresponding with her for many years. We met occasionally in different places in Europe, and about 9 years after her first letter, her husband died, but she refused to marry me. Only when I was very ill did she finally agree. Our wedding was on March 14th, 1850, and it was the happiest day of my life. However, about 5 months later, on August 18th, 1850, I died. My remains are buried in the Père Lachaise cemetery in Paris. My grave has a bronze sculpture by Pierre-Jean David Angers and Auguste Rodin on it. An artist named Eugene Girard drew a pastel drawing of me an hour or so after my death called Balzac on his deathbed.
Do you think your plays and novels will be famous and popular in 2012?
Oh yeah, of course. I believe that they will continue to reprint my works, probably in several languages. I'm sure my novels will also be an inexhaustible source of inspiration for movies. I think that my grave will be one of the busiest parts of the cemetery, probably haunted by all the characters I conceived, but never had the time to pull into full existence.
Located in the heart of Touraine, Château de Sache provided setting that helped inspire some of Honore de Balzac's finest work. From 1830 to 1837, the most prolific years in his career, Balzac found refuge there as a guest of his friend Jean de Marchand. The successive modifications carried out from the Renaissance to the 17th century have given the chateau its own unique style and charm. Jean Marchand, who among other things was responsible for decorating the main drawing room with its impressive trompe l'oeil wallpaper, refitted the edifice to suit 19th century tastes. One room was devoted to Auguste Rodin's statue of Balzac. At work in his little room on the second floor, he wrote parts of several of his greatest masterpieces, including La Père Gavotte, Illusions perdues, and La Recherche de l'Absolu. Balzac came back to Sache for the last time in 1848 and died in Paris in 1850 at the age of 51. Sache is now a museum designed for tourists to explore the life of Balzac and what made his writing so fruitful.